you know what a stimulated emission is?
What?
Stimulated emission.
Not half a clue.
Let's get into it. Welcome to Modern Alchemy. I'm here with my co-host, Christina. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
And just so you guys know, I am Joe Jennings, and we're going to get going here. And we like to start with a fun question. What do you got for us? I feel like you've been coming up with some really juicy ones lately.
Well, I have. Thank you so much for asking. Actually, I went to Reddit and I got a full list of weird questions.
Reddit is an awesome place for the displaced weirdness of society.
All of it. Yeah. You let your freak flag fly, if you will.
Anything you want to find out. Oddly enough, though, not a lot of TikTok growth stuff on there. A lot of TikTok porn stuff on there, though, just in case anyone was curious.
Who knew?
Yeah.
Now we
I was
all
looking for
know.
the former, just for clarity.
The porn?
No, the growth. How to grow on TikTok, not how to.
Sure. Me too. Okay, my question. Thank you, Reddit. How much sawdust can you put into...
I'm in. I'm 100% on board already.
Okay. How much sawdust can you put into a Rice Krispie treat before you think people will start to notice?
Oh my God. I'm going to answer it in percentages of sawdust versus Rice Krispie treat material.
Oh, okay. That's nice.
Yeah, 10% sawdust.
10%.
Yeah.
That's so funny. In my head, I was like, I don't know, like 3 grams. But yeah, what is
What
3
percentage
grams?
is that in your mind?
What is 3 grams to... I have no idea.
Yeah.
I was just thinking in terms of, I was thinking from ingredient standpoint, I'd probably measure out
How many cups
maybe
is
like
a gram?
a tablespoon.
A tablespoon. You could 100% get a tablespoon in the
But
batch.
I think sawdust probably, you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
It's kind of that chalky.
It's like, it's dry. Have you ever licked a piece of wood? I don't know that I have, but I can imagine what
I've
it
gotten
would taste
sawdust
like.
in my mouth from...
Yeah, and it was probably just small, teeny tiny particles. I bet it's less sawdust than we suspect. I bet it's some minute amount before you start to notice there's the flavor profile has been compromised.
So this is just based on a regular batch of Rice Krispies, because you could also make the argument that if you increase the Rice Krispie sweetness, you could probably hide even more sawdust. So if your plan was to essentially get people to ingest more sawdust, you could probably get, like, how high do you think you could go percentage wise?
I feel like this is what big food does. They're like, we're going to hide all these chemicals and some sweetness in here. So basically,
There is a chemical that is actually, it's like tree bark or something. It's a byproduct of that they put in food to create more texture.
Tree bark.
I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, but if anyone's listening, drop it in the comments. But it's one thing, it's super normal on labels, but it's actually a tree byproduct.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, if it comes from a tree, I think I'm okay with it. But sawdust, okay, so I'd like to retract my original answer, and I think it's probably 3% per square of sawdust. And I would say like a normal square.
A normal, not like a bake sale square, like at home square.
An at-home square, I think 3%.
I think you get away with 3% easily. I think I'm over exaggerating. I think 10 is tough.
What if they were better? You're like, oh, they're not so sweet. They're kind of nice.
What's your recipe? Like, well, I use a secret ingredient.
Yeah.
What is it? You don't want to know. It's love, wink.
I always do. When I'm baking something or making something to bring to share with other people, I'm very conscious of how I'm handling all of the things in my house. Like, is this plate clean? Are my hands clean? Is my hair pulled back? When I'm cooking for myself, things are just flying. It doesn't matter. It's very different.
The quality control is different.
Completely. But then I wonder, do other people think about that? Like how I think about it? My old coworker, she made a joke about...
What's her first and last name?
I don't remember who said it. But she made a comment about people with cats, that she can't believe people with cats would let their cats go on the counters, especially when there's food. And that's why she doesn't eat at potlucks. And then my friend Veronica made this face at me, which means she lets her cats go on the counter and she brings food to potlucks.
My cat's food is on the counter to hide it from the dog.
Oh,
So my
see?
cat is perpetually on counters.
Yeah, see.
I guess when you have a pet, it's less of a concern profile.
I mean, I don't really care. I'll still eat food that has a cat hair in it. I don't give a shit.
It is pretty gross though, because they're in a litter box daily.
Well, I don't want to think about that part.
Yeah, I think they clean themselves fairly well. Yeah, so this is a good segue to talk about my topic here. We're going to talk about. Apparently, you're not supposed to say poop.
Okay, it's the one thing I don't like talking about. Like, I don't like talking about going to the bathroom. I don't know why people want to talk about going to the bathroom all the time.
Once we have the clout, we'll do it. But apparently,
I don't like it.
it
I don't
messes
like
with the
that.
algorithm.
Well, it's because it's gross.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's probably because men are gross, and you men are our biggest predators.
Oh, we're going still.
And
We're
you're
live here. Predators.
Yeah, because you guys go hard on
Bathroom stuff.
just everything.
What's the link between? Oh, it's just in general.
Yeah, like men just keep bringing it to the extreme because push it. Women are like, we're fine over here. We don't need to talk about dirty bathroom stuff and like incorporate that maybe into like sexual fantasies. And men are like, I got an idea.
Really?
What if? I feel like that's what men do. Like maybe not you personally.
Yeah, I haven't gotten
but
there yet.
societally, if we look at men versus women, women aren't pushing the envelope in terms of things like men do.
Oh, yeah, and I guess you could even.
Women aren't looking up and like isn't when a woman's probably looking up on TikTok or YouTube, it's probably for a very innocent reason as opposed to a man.
They're having an actual gastric issue.
Sure.
I think with guys especially, it's maybe this is people in general, but the fetish tier is based on socioeconomic or economic status. When you run out of dopamine things, you start going, well, what's something I could try to feel something from? And then it starts to escalate to this. Well, maybe if I just pee on someone, like, oh, that was kind of cool. What else is there? I'm very, very happy that I don't know how to describe it. I'm not vanilla. Maybe I'm vanilla plus. So I'm in the bedroom, the lights are dim, and I can do some fun stuff. But I don't
open maybe?
I'm open, but I don't need to go I don't know where my line is. Probably things in my butt are my line. And so I guess from like missionary with the lights off to that is a pretty good range of options.
Yeah, I mean, I would challenge that to say it can go, it's not linear. It can go a lot of directions. And I'm looking at you in the camera there.
Who are you talking to?
I got a lot of gay friends, right? And the gays, they just do wild things. And that's who I'm looking at right now. Because I know your stories, guys. You're all very dirty. You should go say a prayer or something.
It's definitely also highly linked to the fact that to be promiscuous as a gay dude is really easy. And so you have to keep raising the stakes. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, well, what else do I have access
You're
to?
You're mansplaining this to me, and I totally understand.
Okay. Well, I'm more mansplaining for our audience. So if you guys
just teasing.
Would like to get mansplained to, please DM me.
No, you were doing it good. I was trying to say it in a much softer way, but yes, that's exactly what it is. That's what I was saying. Like, so poop probably can't be said on the internet in certain areas because men are pushing the envelope.
Yeah. What's a TikTok safe word for it?
Oh my God. Like there are women on TikTok that will talk about selling things.
Selling their number twos?
They're not selling things to women, I'm sure. One woman said, you can sell anything. And she was saying Q-tips. She sells the hair from her hairbrush.
What is up with that?
But in addition to that, she sells things that come out of her body.
The number two.
It could be that, like tampons.
Oh.
Just dudes are foul.
Yeah, I agree, and I think if there was a pie chart and it was into weird stuff, it would be at least 75% men.
I think everything's driven by men.
Yeah.
In that regard. They have the testosterone, so it makes sense.
This literally needs to be its own episode where we talk about why, because I'm so fascinated about this now.
Why what?
Why that's the case.
Why men are, it's the testosterone.
Testosterone. I also think it might have to do with selection because women have an easier time with selection. And so if you get bored, you could change partners more easily, whereas a man might not be able to find a partner, which would lead him to have to ever escalate his dopaminic response to pornography or sexuality.
Okay, there was a study that was done and it looked at relationships and it had your traditional male female relationship. And they said the health life or the sex life, they would have, he deemed, the gentleman who did the study, he deemed it something like healthy, right? Like it happens a healthy amount of times, a man and a woman.
Okay.
So now if you have a woman to woman, female to female relationship,
They like never bang.
the sex dies faster. There's no testosterone driving the
Oh.
sex. So that's why lesbians, it's so
They
funny because they
nest.
always joke, that they're like, they've met and 2 weeks later, they're like moved in together. They have a 401k together, like one's on the other benefit plan. They move very quickly because they're coming from this nurturing emotional innateness that's inside of women.
And
And they don't have the testosterone driving the sexual component. So yes, they nest. And now you have male to male, right? Testosterone. Constantly, like, how do we push the envelope and go farther and go harder?
Wow. From now on, if we say number 2, because I'm pretty sure is one of those bad words.
Yeah, I don't like that word.
We'll say number 2.
I don't even want to talk about it.
You don't have to.
Thank you. It's the one thing my
But
friends
it
know
would
they
be
can't
funny
talk to me about.
if we did an episode where you had to confront it. All right, so
Confront it.
yeah.
Like
Face it. Maybe in a jar.
Face off. We need you to go shit in this jar.
Yeah.
For the podcast.
Yeah. Do you want to play a game?
I feel like, am I on Fear Factor?
If we can get Joe Rogan, maybe we get a Joe Rogan lookalike for a thing, and we both confront our fears. I would have to hold a spider.
I'm afraid of spiders too. If there was a spider in the house, who would kill it?
I would kill it.
Okay.
I'll murder the hell out of a spider.
Just checking. Because I have, my heart rate just went up too.
Same. But I was thinking about holding a tarantula. Tarantula? Is it tarantula?
You would have died with this spider I saw in Brazil. Actually, there were 2 of them. And they were so big and they jump.
They have the jumping spiders.
But they're bigger than tarantulas.
No.
Because tarantulas, I guess, don't bite. These spiders bite. And they jump.
Tarantulas don't have fangs the same way. They bite, but they don't like fang.
Puncture.
Yeah, exactly. This is terrifying.
Yeah, they're just not poisonous.
My nips are hard, but not in a good way.
Honestly, I have so much pressure on my job. Are you going to have a vape company one day?
Yeah.
Like a flavor, I mean?
That's a really good idea.
The Joe Jennings.
What flavor would it be?
I don't know. I don't know what you like.
Fruity flavors.
Fruity flavors,
Yeah.
just like you?
Papaya, exactly.
Papaya is kind of a dirty fruit.
It's not a good fruit.
Because it tastes
I
like
don't even know
the
what it tastes like.
earth.
It is earthy.
It's earthy.
So under the pyramids of Giza, have you heard about these giant chambers?
Are you talking about, okay, to clarify,
Yeah.
what's just broken on the socials or the old school giant chambers?
Within the last few weeks, the subterranean where they use the LiDAR to
The coil.
find the,
Yes, I have heard all about
the
it.
columns with the coils.
So exciting.
Yeah, and so I love Egyptian stuff. I actually have a Eye of Ra tattoo on my back.
Huh.
I got it at one of those places you get on vacation. And unbeknownst to myself, you shouldn't have I don't want to say bad tattoo artist, but one of those tattoo artists at the place you just get a tattoo when you're drunk on vacation level skill, make a circle. Because the circle is not circle-y. Like she needed a compass. Maybe they need a compass.
Is it called a compass?
No,
Protractor?
protractor. She needed a protractor, but it's really janky. But I love it because I don't ever see it because it's on my back. And it's like every tattoo is a memory, even if it's bad. I have a tattoo on my leg that I don't love, but it's a memory, right? Anyways, so I'm looking into this and I realized that this theory of Egypt actually having power that they harnessed from universal vibration, they actually were able to harness hydrogen power a gazillion years ago. This is essentially proving that theory.
Can you say that again?
Yeah, so they actually were able to use sound waves to stimulate, which is that stimulated emission that I mentioned earlier. So tie back to that, guys. Not the payoff you were looking for. And
Or maybe it was.
yeah, maybe it was if you're a good person. So the stimulation of these particles based on them tuning the frequency of the pyramids to 440 hertz would stimulate the particles of the essentially, I'll get real sciencey for a sec here. And I'm going to mess this up. So if you're a smart person, leave a comment. There are electrons that are vibrating at a higher frequency and the stimulation from the tuning of 440 hertz causes the protons to then rise up to that same level, and this displaces hydrogen gas. Don't ask me how, I have no clue. That's based on a very limited amount of research, but it's nutty.
Struggling to respond because I'm just taking all that information in. I think I need to go back to the beginning almost. So
Yeah.
this started out with the LiDAR. Do we want to explain to people what that means?
Yeah, so they use these laser radars essentially, and they were scanning the pyramids, and they found this antechamber, subterranean chamber, and I believe there were 8 columns, and they have these things that at one point they theorized might have been a winding kind of wraparound staircase, but they're actually coils. And so the coils are able to help stimulate this environment where they create this frequency. Like they literally tuned the stones to a frequency, and it's the frequency of the universe, they say, apparently. And that is a universal, they're essentially harnessing universal vibrational energy. And then I don't know how the comms played into this. That would have been a good Google search. But essentially there's this thing, you know what?
I think I have an idea. So while Joe looks that up, I believe I don't trust anything. I grew up in a family where you could trust everything, and I choose to question everything. And so in questioning everything, when I hear that pyramids are a tomb, I'm like, what? Some of this doesn't make sense. And then you hear about other things beyond that. So my understanding was someone had gone to the archaeologists and said, hey, what if there are all these monoliths that go deep below the pyramids? And essentially, that's what they've discovered, right? That there are these structures that come up and they're all underneath the pyramids.
Deep in the
Deep
ground.
So what if that's because thousands and thousands of years ago, these were like if our planet looked different and there wasn't as much sand and dust, maybe the ground floor was actually a lot lower. I mean, who knows what our planet looked like? We can only speculate anything.
So that it might not, so that might have not been as low prior because maybe the dust had moved around.
Maybe there wasn't dust.
Oh, the sand?
Because if we knew the Nile used to be, we knew Giza used to be a very lush area because of the Nile River. And there was speculation that the pyramids would generate energy based on the water flowing next to the pyramid. But the path of the Nile River has changed over time. And so it's so far away that people were like, no, you can't get energy from the Nile River. But if the Nile River was closer and different, who knows what the structure looked like? And to your point, with the tuning forks, if these really were tuning forks, that means they probably were, these pyramids were probably suspended in air on the base of these.
No way. Do you think that?
Think about those houses. Okay. You know, when you have a beach house, when you see people that have these beach houses and they're on stilts, what if that's what it is? Those are the stilts, and then you have the pyramid, and eventually the pyramid did become a tomb for something because it wasn't operating the same as it once was. So maybe both things are true.
I don't know.
But not at the same time.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
In theory, I see where you're going with that. Like if it was actually exposed and then there was some sort of scaffolding holding the pyramid up. That would be a Herculean task, though, because of how heavy the pyramids are. But they could have been stone. So let's take the tinfoil hats off for a sec. I Googled it. Apparently, these columns were zinc and hydrochloric acid. And then the vibration apparently was able to create this runoff of hydrogen gas. So I believe then the hydrogen gas would either rise into the chamber and then be harnessed for something else, or they had some sort of structure that connected beneath. But essentially, they were creating hydrogen gas, and that's kind of as far as we know because...
Okay, so there was a guy that had gone into each one of the chambers and done... He had done, I don't know if it was just specific to gas, but he tested the walls in each one of the chambers to see what chemical compounds were stuck in them. And certain rooms had different things. And one of them was hydrogen, I remember reading about.
Yeah, they could tell that there was that there had been a hydrogenic reaction in there. It was burnt.
Yes, and they were saying that people wouldn't be able to stay in if this amount of hydrogen was pumped into each one of these chambers. People wouldn't be able to go in there.
Because it would be.
It would be like a non-access point because of the levels of gas. You would just die.
You like pass out and die.
Yeah. So how would you? That was challenging the norm of that. These are these structures made for a woman that I loved. You know what I mean? Or this pharaoh. That's where they were questioning. People can't be going in and out of some of these chambers. But maybe, again, to my point before, maybe the chambers became a monument later.
Well, here's the thing,
Post-gas.
and I should have introduced this in the beginning.
Can't wait.
There's actually a conspiracy between the Egyptian government and big archaeology.
Oh, I believe it. Those guys probably have the biggest egos. They think they're like little gods. They know everything, but they probably don't know anything.
Like, think about just tourism.
Oh, yeah.
So we've got this really cool narrative, and I love Egyptian mythology.
Yeah.
And going to the pyramids, going in the pyramids is actually on my bucket list. But
Should we go?
I would love to go
Should Modern Alchemy go?
and do a podcast in the pyramid.
I want to climb on top of it.
I want to go inside. I don't care about climbing on top.
That's so funny. I want both.
That's interesting. So if the bubble of what is really happening there was burst, it completely changes the paradigm. You probably still have tourism, but it's way cooler to imagine this whole mythology. Oh man, and King Tut was here and all this stuff. And if they were like, this is actually an ancient power plant, people would not come in droves. You'd have different guests, probably not as many guests.
I don't know, because as you're saying it, I was like, yes, I agree with you. And then suddenly I'm like, no, I think it'd still be interesting because we don't have anything like that. In my head, the conspiracy would be, we don't want people to know the reality for what it is, not to stop tourism, but because we don't want them to know that you can harness energy freely.
Like
We
Tesla
want
versus
you to be
Edison.
dependent on a government, and so that's why we're going to play this other narrative. But I again question everything.
So many
I don't
layers
trust
to
anybody.
potential conspiracy there.
So
Because Tesla's free energy got murked by Edison because you couldn't monetize it.
Yeah.
And they've even shut it down to the point where they're saying, oh no, that hum you're hearing, that's just the buses in the parking lot. It's like, no, like they put tuning devices in the pyramids and they literally all oscillate at 440 hertz and also complementary frequencies that are higher. This is where it gets really cool.
Yeah.
Imagine this. So 432 hertz, it's been documented as a healing frequency. 440 is very close to that.
I was curious what 440 was.
So 440 is actually it's the universal tuning for instruments at normal tune. So music, it's like the tuning frequency. When you
Okay.
tune a guitar, apparently.
Like the people that go, huh?
Yeah, so 440 hertz is whatever the standard tuning is. But
Was I 440 hertz just now?
that was perfect. Your perfect pitch. Pitch Perfect 4 coming this summer.
From a pyramid near you?
From a pyramid near you. So imagine living in a society where you've created these massive objects to harness the universal frequency of the earth, and now they're vibrating. That's everywhere. So this dude, Christopher Dunn, was theorizing that they were probably very chill because 432 hertz, if you want to actually Google this, isn't woo, there's science there. It can lower blood pressure and physical symptoms of anxiety. So essentially you're living in a place where the entire power structure is vibrating at a frequency that just makes you feel
Good.
chill, brah.
That's so nice. FYI, I have I have 2 long form playlists on Spotify that they're just free. They're available and they're already made, and it's the 432 hertz. So if you want to be more chill, you go put that on.
Let's put it in the description.
The
link in the description.
It would be nice. Just imagine if we lived in a world where our government said, we want everyone to feel a little less anxiety. We're going to tune all the streets to play at 432 hertz so that people just feel better throughout the day and they're like a little nicer to each other.
It's actually a really good idea. I was imagining they put up loudspeakers on every corner, but that's like a totalitarian thing. But they're going, no, let's just tune it to a happy frequency.
No, but they don't do that. Instead, they're like, hey, do you live in the city of Chicago? Do you want to be confused about where to park your car and frustrated all the time?
Yeah. They're like, let's find the frequency of anxiety and frustration and let's tune everything to that. For sure, that's what's happening.
Yes.
So, and essentially, the reason why we don't have any knowledge of their technology and their tools and the precision. So, some of these chambers have passages, and the old guard theorized that it would be one master craftsman with like a dumb little one of those nail file things to file.
There's no
It
way.
would take 28 years. 28 years to create one of these single person
I believe it.
dealios, right? So either pharaohs were essentially like you would start building your grandson's tomb. Okay, cool. We'll finish it when he, or they had tools we don't know about, or they just weren't tombs.
Definitely tools we don't know about.
And
How can we rule that out?
No, I think you can use, so in the medical field, they have tools that use super high powered sound frequencies. You can cut stuff with sound.
Sonar.
Yeah. Well, sonar is, yeah, but you can tune, I don't know what it is. And this is funny because as I'm ideating, it would have been great to look this up. But I know my aunt is a OB/GYN surgeon, and they have this tool that they use for hysterectomies, and it's a sound. It uses sound.
It's amazing.
And it's like, man, I don't know what it sounds like. I'm making that up. It could sound like nothing. Probably, but it essentially the sound waves move so aggressively that it can obliterate matter. I think they had something like that, and they were just like, bah! Because
I think so too. Have you ever seen a perfect precision hole in an artifact, like in a stone? And you're like, how did they get this perfect circle? Also, pyramids. The dimensions of pyramids are the mathematical equations of them make people's heads explode.
The precision of these because they needed it to be so perfect to make the frequency was like a 20,000th of a millimeter. I'm making that up. 20,000th of an inch, something like that. The level of precision is insane. It's not a person with a little nail file going.
Yeah, they would mess up.
It's like a thing. They add like a tool.
And now think about the precision of just the inside of the pyramid. And the outside of the pyramid also is precise with the stars in the way.
Is it really?
Oh, you didn't know that?
It's based on constellation shit?
It's completely based on constellation, and if you mirror the pyramids up to the constellation now, it's off. You have to go back in time to the way the constellations have shifted over the years, and they line up perfectly. And this is the same with pyramids all over the world.
What's the value there, you think?
There's some connection to the sky and the stars.
I wonder.
The value. That's so funny. The value is
scientific
probably,
value. I'm wondering why they thought that was valuable.
I love the way you said it.
Yeah.
The way the stars and the planets line up, we have to consider the moon. The moon impacts water, impacts tides. There's so much more to this. It's so much bigger than we can
don't know what
conceive.
we don't know, especially when you realize they were using a sound wave to create hydrogen power.
They're so smart. We think they're so dumb. These dumb little
They
Egyptians.
operated with things that were essentially like we went down this path of machine. Now it's digital intelligence, but it was all like machine. Like we're industrialists, our ancestors. But before, it's called the Young Dryas impact, when they believe a comet or an asteroid wiped out the entire population of everything. Obviously, these giant structures would survive.
Oh yeah, because there is speculation. The Sphinx in the front. I watched this thing on Netflix, and it was saying the head of the Sphinx is considerably smaller than the body of the Sphinx. And so it was believed that maybe it was a different structure. And then whatever team of people moved in after this asteroid, they probably took the head of the Sphinx and they just they chipped away at it to make it look like a god that they would worship. Because the head of the Sphinx is very different than the body, including the size and the way that it's done. It's almost like a second artist came in and redid it. Like, that church in France, and part of I think it's in France, and one of the spires was done after by a different architect. And so you could tell the spire of the original structure is very different than the spire.
Is that the one because it burned down and they had to redo it or something?
I don't remember.
I feel
bad for not knowing. But
there's a lot of info.
It is like two architects essentially coming in. It doesn't look the same as maybe what it should have looked like.
Well, and that is based on whatever. They're like, that probably was a cat, right? I think they're like, yeah, probably.
Or maybe they were like, it was actually this animal that doesn't exist anymore, but we love cats. So
Oh,
we're
the
going
head
cat.
archaeologist was a real cat guy.
Big cat guy.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see archaeologists. Okay, hot take. What pets would an archaeologist have?
Well, the Egyptians love cats. They worship them. So of course they would put a cat on the front.
Here's my take on that, and I'm so happy you mentioned this because I wasn't going to.
What's he gonna say?
Animals, this would be a fun Google. Cats vibrate. I believe the Egyptians.
What do you mean cats vibrate?
They purr.
Oh, with their purr.
Yeah. I believe the Egyptians believed that there was something to tap into with the vibration of the cat purring. Like if you're meditating or thinking happy thoughts or trying to shoot your thoughts out into the universe, into the universal consciousness
I'm sorry.
with your thoughts. Stimulate emission.
Things women don't say.
Into the
Yeah. What was your
consciousness.
hook at the beginning of this?
Stimulated emission. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. If we can refer to ejaculating now from the future,
Stimulated emissions.
from this point forward.
Okay. Yeah,
From
that's
the
a good
future.
callback because this is probably our best episode. But I wonder. So I've done that. I've owned a handful of cats.
Not the stimulated emission.
I've never done a stimulated emission with a cat, but I have felt their vibrational frequency when I'm doing a meditation or something, and it actually amplifies whatever you're doing.
And so the cat would be on you during the meditation and you can feel it.
Yeah, like laying on you or laying next to you, and it increases your personal vibration because they're. Man, I'd be so curious what they vibrate at. But I think
Google
I
it.
believe that's why the Egyptians worship cats. If they were so into this frequency thing, because cats would do something frequent frequency. Yeah, we need this.
Interesting.
Okay, this is ChatGPT, and probably need to do a little bit more research on this.
It's probably wrong.
Cats literally purr at healing frequencies. Most domestic cats purr in the range of 25 to 150 hertz. And here's where it gets wild. This is how my chat talks to me. 25 to 50 hertz scientifically shown to promote bone healing and growth. So that goes along with our emissions thing. 100 to 150 hertz, pain relief, muscle repair, and tendon healing. It's like cats have built-in vibro-therapy. Some researchers believe that cats evolved this ability to heal themselves since they spend 12 to 16 hours lying around. And it's also how they comfort humans.
In college, in one of my classes, we watched this study about twins and the anxiety and stress for twins. And what they would do is they would have the one twin bring their pet in, and then you'd have the second twin as the control group to see where their blood pressure was at. And they noticed when you bring your pet into the room, a person's blood pressure, the way they're breathing, everything shifts and they become more calm.
Wow.
Just by being in the room.
I've definitely picked up on when I'm having a really tough time, my pets are more attentive.
Oh, yeah, they can feel
They
it.
just know.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, buddy, you good?
Of course.
Yeah.
Animals are so smart. We think they're so dumb. For example, if there's a tsunami, elephants in that Thailand tsunami that happened years ago, they started running up the mountain because they knew something was wrong. And people were like, what's going on here?
But they're not
Where are all the
smart
animals
enough
going?
to start gathering bags of sand and boarding up the beaches.
Too bad.
I don't think that would have helped, by the way.
No, it was really sad.
But that's what happened. Good segue there. The young Dryas impact. Essentially, imagine something that's the size of the moon. I don't even know the size. That's making it up. Something that's 10% the size of the Earth hits the Earth. It doesn't just smash that area. The vibration, the entire world had been tsunamied.
Of course.
So
How could it not?
Wash. That's probably where the whole... I don't know anything about Atlantis, but that's probably what happened with Atlantis.
Okay, earlier when I was talking about the pyramids being on sticks, I was thinking about Atlantis because Atlantis was a real place, and now it's on the ocean floor.
Mm-hmm.
It just means the whole structure of Earth looked completely different in terms of maybe the volume of water and the mass of land and there's that theory the continents were all together as one at once. I don't know. There's so many theories. It's hard to keep up with all of them.
And that's the thing. You can't prove them. So a lot of people are now moving towards this asteroid theory. And I think I'm saying it wrong. Is the Younger Dryas?
Younger Dryas?
Is that what it is?
I've heard this before.
Yeah. And so the idea of the continents shifting and all that slow stuff over time, it has. But it makes It doesn't explain all these weird phenomenons where these civilizations were wiped the F out. Where did they go? There's so many ancient, like, where did the Aztecs go? Someone might know, and I'm just saying this, Mayans, whatever. All these ancient civilizations that have remnants, only large remnants left over, or stuff that we've somehow dug up. Where'd they go? Where did they go?
They were obliterated.
Or it's a government cover-up.
What?
Yeah, and they're lizard people.
I did think I saw a lizard person at the bar the other day. And actually, I said to all my friends, that lady's a lizard person.
Wow. Did she
And they
blink
all turned and they
sideways?
knew she was going like this. All these weird faces. I think she did too much cocaine, is just a guess.
Her jaw was swinging.
Her tongue kept jutting out. And when I said, she's a lizard person, everybody at the table said, yes, we know exactly who you're talking about.
We're primed. They're like going to be ready to come out soon. Although I don't really prescribe to that conspiracy theory. I think that's the conspiracy theory that gets you canceled.
I don't know anything about them.
Same.
I just imagine they have a darty tongue.
Yeah, like a snake tongue?
Yeah. Sorry if I'm to the lizard community. Sorry if I'm wrong. It was just an assumption.
Yeah, maybe they're nice lizards. Like the lizards in Florida are nice. I lived there for a long time. They don't bother me.
Oh, like a Komodo dragon?
Like a gecko. They're the
I like a
small
gecko.
ones, and they just eat the bugs.
Yeah, I like them.
I had a buddy who was afraid of geckos, and they're everywhere in Florida. Everywhere. His whole life was him freaking the F out. Like, imagine if there were big spiders just running at full speed across the street all the time. That was his reality.
There was this girl.
All day.
There was a waitress at Tavern on Rush, the original one, and she was afraid of pigeons, and pigeons are all over. And I remember multiple times having lunch with her, not with her, lunch at the restaurant, and she would be working there. Excuse me. It sounded like I wouldn't have lunch with her, but just for clarity, I'm just having lunch with girlfriends, and she's working.
Yeah, you would never actually have lunch with her.
No, I mean, I love pigeons. No, I'm just kidding. But you just constantly would hear, because the pigeons are everywhere and there's food. So they're like coming in hot, and this poor girl, she just constantly was dodging pigeons at work.
Did she ever? I'm so fascinated by that. What an odd, not odd, it's just specific.
They're
Do you have any
dirty
idea
birds.
the backstory there?
No, I just think they're dirty birds, maybe.
They're very intelligent, apparently.
Well, pigeons and doves, I guess, are the same, except one has better PR.
Doves have awesome PR. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like if you release a flock of doves, if you release a bunch of pigeons, they just immediately hit the ground and, what's up, guys? Like, no, you need to fly. Lovebirds. I could see that, though, them being birds of a feather. Let's go, and that's where we're going to end it, on that fucking
He's so
bomb
proud
drop.
of himself. Backtracking for a moment to the archaeologists.
Yes, please. Some real stuff.
I am not a scientist. I enjoy learning about science. I'm not in any way proficient. And people that dedicate their lives to science, God bless.
God bless.
But there is a level of ego that goes with that sometimes. I know best. You can't tell me I'm wrong. So I could see big archaeology just being pissed, especially, let's say, your whole life's work, you've done all these dissertations, you've written all these books and periodicals, and it's all about this thing that you're confident in. And now some asshole gets in a plane, gets this LiDAR and says, actually, Bob, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm going to disprove everything you're saying. They must all be freaking out, which also, we have lobbyists, right? Lobbyists are there to try and convince other people. They're like little lawyers. They're just trying to convince people of what the people that are paying them, their PR, right? I guess lobbyists are marketing, essentially.
Yeah, they're exactly.
Yeah, so are archaeologists lobbying that we keep all this quiet? I wonder how this is how is this all going to play out, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and I've never really considered the fact that there's any money in archaeology whatsoever.
Funding. They probably have billionaires.
Government funding.
They get so much funding.
Yeah.
They get money to do all their pet projects, the things that they care about. Are you kidding? Again, that is very egocentric because it may not be beneficial to everybody. This may not be benefiting all the people.
Think of that.
It's benefiting one guy who has an idea. right? And maybe the idea is good or maybe it isn't. I don't know. I don't know what the ideas are. I'm just saying you have people that are willing to give you money for your ideas so you can do studies and then you can spend it however you want. What I've learned, and I'm just taking this in another direction, sorry to go on a tangent here, but like founders, actually chat is the perfect example. So we know DeepSeek is around and China was like, hey, we created this thing for like no money. And then you have the AI founders who are squandering money. We probably paid for so many vacations and houses and whatnot, and you didn't need to. But as a founder, you determine how you're going to take your money that you've sourced and how you're going to spend it. No one tells you how to spend your money. Same thing with these projects. So these guys might have all this funding for these projects they want to do because they think it's interesting, or maybe they just want a new house in Lake Como and they're siphoning a little money off the top here because they need it. And they justify it because people have given them money and they don't have to explain how they're spending the money.
And you touched on a couple of things. So there is definitely incentive to not cut the flow of, I didn't even think of that, grant funding from the government. If the tourism dries up, which big archaeology, I don't think there is actually a big archaeology. But
I think there's big everything.
Big archy. So that would have a duplicitous effect where now no longer are those things. That's the funding source, which is the tourism. And then, so that would dry that up pretty hard. There is also, unfortunately, with science, if someone wants to test something and they're wrong, their funding stops. But if you test something and you're right, and you prove the thing that the funding meant to prove, you can do more. So there is a lot of scientists that understand that. And the unfortunate reality is if you don't pay the piper of the funding or whatever, the person trying to prove the thing, okay, bye. So yeah, getting your theory disproven. And if you look at like Jamie Dimon, who's the CEO of JP Morgan's unrelated, but he's been a huge anti-crypto guy, anti-Bitcoin.
Oh,
and so
sure. That threatens his whole job.
It's the old guard. And so as the old guard kind of retires and dies, these new people come in with the ideas that are more societally kind of already accepted, but you can't put them into practice because there's this old guy who's going, well, I already figured it out and this is it. And we're going, yeah, that used to be it. Yeah. But now this is it. And so we need you to get out of the way.
Yeah. Move over, bozo.
Move over, bozo. Yeah, it's interesting how, and I think a lot of that is ego, like you said.
It's so ego.
Yeah.
And if, God forbid, imagine a world where ego was the minority.
Ugh. Yeah.
Everything would probably be a little bit easier. You wouldn't be forcing so much.
Do you think ego is a male specific thing or like?
No, ego is for ego's equal opportunity.
There's
no ego doesn't care if you're black or you're white or you're tall or you're short or you're fat. Ego's like, we got all of you.
What's up with, but how does the female ego express itself? I know the male ego is very obvious.
I think the female ego is just as obvious.
Really?
I think people manage their egos differently, but egos are the things that drive people to be insecure. The chatter, the noise. I have some girlfriends who will talk about all these conversations that they'll have with people in their lives, but in their head, in the event that they have to have the conversation later.
So they're just playing it out, or they're pretending like it happened to you?
Yeah, my friend Brian, he describes it as worrying about a problem that hasn't happened yet. So they make fake scenarios in their head.
Plans.
Yeah, this fake scenario, and then maybe it's a fight, maybe it's a conversation, but they never actually have it, but they just have it in their head with these people.
And that makes them feel safer?
If
it happens, I'm prepared?
I hear it and I'm like, this probably makes you feel crazier because you're worrying about things that haven't happened yet because your ego is trying to keep you safe or prepare you for God only knows what. I don't know what the reasons are here. I don't personally think like this, but I think a lot of people do. They overplay things in their head, and that's ego. But you may not see that being clear. So my girlfriends that are some of them are a little crazy. You know, I love you. We're all a little crazy though.
What are their first and last names? Kidding. That's my new shtick, by the way.
It's really good. I almost was like, well, and I'm sure some of them would say it like, oh yeah, I'm crazy in that regard.
She's talking about me.
But people in general love to play things out in their heads that haven't happened yet.
Yeah. And so, you just kind of blew my mind because I'm thinking the male ego is loud and open.
Sometimes for you.
I think in a man in his masculine's got a more, let's call it bravado.
Okay.
Where if you're literally talking the mind, ego, mind. Yeah. Like women are much better at concealing that, I believe.
Some.
Yeah. How do women, so outwardly, how do women express ego?
Some women that walk in and they act like their shit don't stink, right? And they got a little head bob. Like that's an ego to me.
Do you think guys like that? I don't like that.
Some guys like that because I think that is their primal brain. I'm going to go conquer that. I'm going to find
Really?
a way to, yeah. Or that's the baddest one in this place. I want her. I want to be with the baddie.
I'm like,
Maybe she's not a baddie. I don't know. Maybe she is.
I automatically assume women like that are, I'm trying to think of a nice way to say this. I'm more like, that seems like a lot. Like that's going to be a whole thing that I'll have to deal with forever. Like just a very annoying human being to someone who's like that.
Yeah, but
like women who are like, I'm sassy, I'm a bad bitch. I'm like, ugh, get that energy away from me. I want a chill, calm person I can watch Netflix with. Like, what are we gonna do with your
some guys like
energy?
that though.
What?
They want that because that represents them.
Oh, they're okay. Now that makes sense. So when, like, I got the baddest bitch in town.
Yeah, this one's so high maintenance and I can handle her.
Oh, that's what it is. It's the maintenance level. I want a pretty girl, but I don't want a lot of maintenance, which is a double-edged sword.
Truly.
Yeah, I'm expecting a lot. Yeah, a little maintenance, I understand. Like,
but she's out there. Even I guess there was some quote. It said something like, even if most of the population doesn't like you, if only 1% of the population likes you, it was this astronomical number.
It's still insane. What's 1% of 3 billion?
Math I don't know.
30 million?
It's still a lot.
That's off the cusp. That's some good math.
Yeah.
Could be wrong. Yeah, this has been enlightening, and I feel like there's a lot more we need to uncover. Do you have any final thoughts?
No, let's keep going forever.
Yeah, I have no final thoughts. I'm very fascinated by this, and I want to go deeper into this pyramid thing. So we're going to drop maybe a couple more videos going into a little bit more depth on the science, some shorter videos.
I think more is going to come out. We just have to give it, I'm sure in the 2 months, 3 months, we're going to have some new discovery from this.
Yeah.
If this has just been broken open.
It's just starting to catch up on just Google searching. I remember when I originally searched this, there was nothing. It was maybe a couple of TikTok posts of people with a image. Yeah. And now there's a ton of content. I think you get those people that start pulling back the layers.
Cool. Okay. Well, I'm going to take us out then. So thank you so much for watching. If you've made it this far, if you want to just maybe give a little likey like over here and a little subscribe over there, and maybe you want to forward this to your friends. Maybe you want to leave me a little comment and you want to make fun of Joe. That's fine. You can do that, but be nice to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I can handle it.
I'm just kidding. You can be nice to both of us. Isn't that nice? So sweet. You be sweet to us, we'll be sweet to you, okay? So thank you so much for watching. Modern Alchemy, your new favorite podcast. Find it everywhere. Tell your friends. Tell your neighbor. Tell your grandma I said hi.
Bye, Grandma. Bye.
Bye.